Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. This week I would like to talk about how to raise someone's interest level. If you've heard my last few podcasts, you'll know that I mentioned interest level and I talked about the things that lower someone's interest level. So I received emails asking, okay, well then how do we raise someone's interest level? So I'm going to go through a few things that you can do that will raise someone's interest. Okay, so let's say you met someone online and a lot of questions that people ask have to do with whether you met anyone else from that site, how many people you met, etc., etc. So if someone asks that, how many people have you met from this site? Your response is 20, but it's been a slow week. Ha ha ha. See, so because the answer isn't really important, so you're taking a kind of a boring question, because who cares what the answer is? How many people have you met from the site? 2 or 4, who cares? And you're taking that boring question and making it funny, because obviously he knows that you, or she, that you probably didn't meet 20 people that week. Now, one thing that people think that they can do to raise interest level is to brag or boast about themselves. And I have to say that men are usually more guilty of this than women. And the thing is, you can't talk someone into liking you. And if anything, it's actually a turn off. Women hate it when guys are boasting and bragging about, well, I did this and I did this and I've got this and I've got this. Yeah, whatever, who cares? So absolutely do not do that. If anything, being humble is going to raise interest level. Because if you really are that great, or if you have done this and that, or you have this and that, eventually they'll find out. And they'll actually appreciate the fact that, wow, he didn't tell me that he did this or has this, or that she did this or has that. So actually less is more. Now, let's say that they see you, talking to a member of the opposite sex, or they see a photo in your phone of the opposite sex, or someone that you're following on social media, and they ask, who's that? And your response is going to be, that's your competition. Now, again, this is when you're first dating. Obviously, if you've been together for a while, well, you know what? You could actually say it if you have that type of personality, because obviously you're going to do it with a wink and a smile. However, if you're horrified when you just heard me say that's your competition, then don't do it. This isn't for you. You're not going to be able to pull it off. You have to be a certain type of person to be able to say that and not freak out thinking, oh my God, I wonder if they're going to be upset. No. People are not upset if they know there's competition. If anything, they love a challenge and they'll be like, what, really? Who? And so don't be afraid to say it. It keeps, when I say keep things upbeat and fun and funny, this is what I meant. These type of things that they ask you questions and you come back with a funny answer. And they're not going to be mad. They're going to think it's cute. But how about further down the line? Let's say you've been dating for a while, you're exclusive, and the person you're dating says, I love you, but you're not ready yet. You don't want to say it. So what do you say? There's a lot of things you can say. So when they say, I love you, you can come back with, you're sweet. Where are we having dinner? You don't have to say it back. And they're not going to get mad if you don't say it back. That's what everyone's always worried about. You're coming from a place of fear. You don't have to worry. And so actually this is great because it takes pressure off of them. Because if they say, I love you, and you're like, oh, I love you too. Now people start to get serious, and then they start to get worried that they're going to lose the person, and that's when trouble starts. So if you're upbeat and funny about this, or you can say, oh yeah, you've got great taste, please pass the salt, then they know they don't have to worry about you getting too serious about them. Because remember, dating is a dance. You take a few steps forward and a few steps back. It's not linear as people wish it was, where you just keep taking steps forward and everything leads down the path to the commitment. No, there's always setbacks. So don't worry about upsetting anyone. In fact, I was dating someone and he had a very high interest level in me and I wasn't that interested. And he started saying, I love you. And I never said it back. And he knew actually that I didn't want him to say, I love you. Because when someone says that and you're not really that into them, it's actually kind of annoying. You don't want to hear it. So he knew I didn't want him to say it. So he didn't say it, but he still wanted to say it. And so whenever he would leave, he would look at me and he'd say, should I say it? And I said, no, don't say it. So it became like a joke. So you see, things don't have to be that serious. This is what I mean by keeping things light and upbeat and fun and funny. Now, another thing that people always think that they need to do, which doesn't raise interest level, is they worry about anyone else that the person is dating. This is, of course, before you have a commitment. You don't have to ask about anyone else that they're dating because other people can't lower their interest level in you. They can be interested in you and they can be interested in someone else. They can have a 90% interest in you and an 85% interest in someone else. So don't automatically think, oh, well, if they're interested in other people, then they're not going to be interested in me or they're going to be less interested in me. That's not how it works. It's like everyone has their own interest level, just kind of the way everyone has their own IQ. So interest level goes from 0 to 100. 100 means that they're totally madly in love. 0 means they couldn't care less about you. And if interest level goes below 50, that's when people break up with you. So you want to keep it high, get their interest level up higher than yours, and not worry about whether they're interested in someone else. Because your interest level depends on what you do. Their interest level in you depends on what you do. And if you start nagging and bugging them about other people, it's going to go down. And by the way, when their interest level is in the 90s, they will just automatically stop seeing anyone else because they don't want to, because they're having so much fun with you, because you're being light and upbeat, up funny, and you're answering questions like, that's your competition, and thank you, please pass the salt, that they want to be with you. And so you don't have to have the talk about, where's this going? What are we doing? Are you seeing anyone else? You just raised their interest level and they don't want to see anyone else. I had a client of mine, he's in his 30s, very good looking, great job. He was dating casually a few people here and there, and then when he met someone that he really liked, boom, he immediately, and it doesn't always happen immediately, but this guy did it immediately, contacted everyone else and said, hey, I've met someone, so I can't sue anymore. And that just happens. You don't have to drag someone kicking and screaming into commitment if they're interested. And so that's why interest level is so important. So, if you have any questions or comments, you can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net, where you can also find out my rates for private coaching. If you're listening to this on iTunes, I would really appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please remember to subscribe. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.